виконавча директорка УКФ. Ще раз запрошуємо до слова для презентації цієї програми. Ваші оплески. Спасибі.
Дякую дуже, Ігоре. Я почну, спробую більше часу лишити моїм колегам, бо я думаю, що багато хто очікує, як тут і в залі, так і тих, хто слухає нас онлайн, про відкриття нових можливостей від Українського культурного фонду, які стали нам доступні за рахунок того, що ми виграли грант програми ЄС «Креативна Європа» на суму 2 мільйони євро, із них 70%, 1560, будуть спрямовані саме на фінансування проєктів. Тобто ми підтримуємо за каскадним принципом. Я хочу почати з того, що насправді я так відчуваю, я думаю, що це об'єктивно так і є, що ми вже перейшли той Рубікон, коли потрібно доводити, що культура є важливою. Після великої всесвітньої конференції з культури «Мондіакуль 2025» вже офіційно визнано, що культура є таким же важливим суспільним виміром, як і економіка. І це насправді дуже важливо. Починаємо тоді презентувати наші можливості. Так, наш проєкт називається «Культурні горизонти». Як і кожен проєкт, ми маємо європейського партнера. Далі розповім про нього. Хочу сказати, що проєкт «Культурні горизонти» – це проєкт буде не тільки про кількість поданих заявок та реалізованих проєктів, а перш за все про людей, які зможуть отримати нові можливості, розвинутися і поліпшити культурне середовище, додати йому певного розмаїття. З одного боку, для нас цей проєкт як точно органічне продовження нашої основної діяльності, підтримка культурно-мистецьких проєктів. З іншого боку, це точно розширення горизонту. Тому культурні горизонти, як і називається наша програма. Тривалість проєкту 2 роки. За цей період ми хочемо підтримати 85 проєктів і 40 стипендій. Наші програми. Загалом в проєкті 5 програм. 4 з них буде робити Український культурний фонд, 1 програму німецький партнер. Культурний фонд, я роблю оверв'ю, культурний фонд буде підтримувати програму, яка буде спрямована на підтримку інноваційних проєктів. Це для тих, хто хоче сміливих рішень. Друга програма буде орієнтована на підтримку локальної спадщини в невеличких громадах. Третій проєкт на підтримку, можна так, дебютантів, тобто людей, які закінчили навчання в вищому навчальному закладі і тільки розпочинають свій творчий шлях. І ще одна програма, яка зі стипендіями – це мобільність. Мабуть, багато хто за нею скучив. Це дійсно можливість, коли ви можете поїхати за кордон, знайти партнера або домовитись вже вживу про співпрацю, коли ви дуже довго спілкувалися в онлайні. І ще одна підпрограма буде реалізована нашим партнерам, німцями. Це підтримка резиденцій. Саме так ми вибудували взагалі нашу програму, тому що їм буде легше реалізовувати цю активність в Європі, але резиденції мають бути спрямовані на українців. В принципі, все виглядає органічно, як для нас, і ми готові до старту програми. Сьогодні ми анонсуємо вже першу активність по програмі. І я щиро рада взагалі цій співпраці, тому що це, як на мене, дуже органічне поєднання нашої експертизи в підтримці культурно-мистецьких проєктів і діяльності нашого партнера, який орієнтується і спеціалізується на capacity building, розвитку спроможності. Показали партнерів. Да. Наші партнери – це німецька компанія Vistas, спеціалізацію вже зазначила. І тоді я, згадуючи про партнерів, намагалася все відвести, тому що зараз вони матимуть змогу себе презентувати. Ви також зможете ознайомитися з їхньою діяльністю. І це також гарний приклад, до чого б ми залучали. Ви рівні партнери для Європейського Союзу. Я хотіла про це наголошувати. Не боятись бути партнером і навіть не боятись лідувати, наприклад, як ми лідуємо у цій заявці. Бо програма ЄС «Креативна Європа» і підтримує саме європейські культурні ініціативи. Ми є їхньою частиною. Дякую дуже.
Дякую. Спасибі. Так, ну і зараз давайте для більш деталей, більше розкажемо, як це все відбувається. Я запрошую на сцену Катерину Сазонкіну, керівницю відділу, і Іванну Карпенюк, проєктного ліда культурних горизонтів. Зараз і УКФ, і безпосередньо цей проєкт «Культурні горизонти» зустрінуться. Ми розкажемо, як це все відбувається процесуально. Будь ласка, панове, є мікрофон у вас там, да? Не бачу. А, ні, всі мікрофони тут. Будь ласка, вам мікрофони. Дякую вам дуже.
Дякую.
Працюють? Так.
Щиро дякуємо за представлення. Велика приємність вітати всіх гостей, які в залі і які долучилися до нас онлайн. Наразі ми хотіли б продовжити з презентацією нашого партнера по консорціуму організації Cultural Vistas з Німеччини. Прошу. Партнери записали відео, я думаю, зараз нам його покажуть.
Hello, everyone, and thank you to the Ukrainian Cultural Fund for inviting me to be a part of today's event kickoff. My name is Paul Champalu, and I serve as Director of Short-Term Exchange Programs with Cultural Vistas, a nonprofit partner to the Cultural Horizons program. While I apologize that I'm not able to join you live today, I have prepared a virtual presentation for you all, one that talks about who we are, where we work, our role in working with UCF and the Cultural Horizons project, and what these efforts mean to us. I'd like to begin with what is Cultural Vistas. Cultural Vistas is a nonprofit that promotes global understanding and collaboration among individuals and institutions through international exchange experiences. Alongside our partners across the globe, we tap into a network of local expertise in the countries where we operate our programs. Cultural Vistas employs a diverse and dedicated staff with a U.S. headquarters in Washington, D.C., where I am based, and a European headquarters in Berlin, Germany, where my team members Patricia Palk and Dorina Golias are based. Cultural Vistas started as two separate and distinct entities: AIPT, the Association for International Practical Training, based in the state of Maryland, and CDS International, or the Carl Duisberg Society, based in New York, each operating in the field of student exchanges. Both organizations started by facilitating exchanges for engineers, starting with the program, the International Association for the Exchange of Students for Technical Experience, or ISTE, which started in 1963. Each organization continued to add exchange programs to their respective portfolios, from hospitality and cultural and professional training programs to youth leadership development programs. Programs were originally uniquely between the US and Europe, with a focus on Germany, like with the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange for Young Professionals and the Robert Bosch Foundation Fellowship Program, but eventually extended to new partnerships with Latin America and Asia, among other regions, like with the Professional Fellowship Program for China and internships for Americans to Southeast Asia. Then, in 2011, both organizations decided to merge their respective businesses, and that is when Cultural Vistas was formed. Since the merger, Cultural Vistas has continued to grow its programming and its impact, notably opening our European office in Berlin in 2014 and adding high-level professional exchange programs like the U.S. Department of State's International Visitor Leadership Program and the reciprocal half of the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange. On average, we serve around 5,000 participants annually through the entirety of the exchanges we implement. The learnings we've taken from our various internships and fellowships, workshops, professional study tours, and sea grants have all provided Cultural Vistas with expertise to fulfill our place in cultural horizons. Take, for example, a recent program we conducted from 2024 to 2025, the Climate Action Artist Residencies Program. Here, we selected 2 cohorts of artists who went on to receive residency fellowships. The artists were matched with scientific institutions and experts in the Pacific to learn further about the climate crisis and translate their findings into artistic projects that incite climate action. Additionally, we have long-standing experience working on professional exchanges that focus on expanding Ukrainian civil society, from helping Ukrainian filmmakers develop connections with the U.S. film industry to increase the impact of their work in light of the Russian war of aggression, to arranging workshops with other experts that assist in cultural heritage preservation, exchanging best practices with American counterparts in the fields of cybersecurity and democratic governance, and collaborating with the International Center for Policy Studies in Ukraine to develop a multi-week program focused on strengthening women's rights organizations. The breadth of these experiences have allowed us to understand more closely the context we are working toward with Cultural Horizons. This brings me to my next point, but the reason for our continued involvement and participation in such programs with Ukraine. First, as I mentioned, Cultural Vistas and Cultural Vistas EU have been working with partners in Ukraine extensively since 2015. Throughout this time, our role has often been to listen closely to the needs of our Ukrainian partners and support them in connecting internationally, especially with peers in Germany. Our motivation to join this consortium is rooted in the recognition that cultural actors are essential to societal resilience. Supporting them is not only about preserving culture, but also about strengthening democratic values, social cohesion, and Ukraine's European future. From a German and broader European perspective, Ukraine is not a distant context. It is part of our immediate political, cultural, and security environment. The war has made clear that culture is not separate from geopolitics. Cultural identity, historical narratives, and memory are actively contested. Supporting Ukrainian cultural actors therefore means supporting the integrity of European values and countering disinformation that seeks to undermine Ukraine's right to exist as a sovereign nation. For organizations like Cultural Vistas EU, this also aligns with our mission to foster international exchange and mutual understanding, especially in times of crisis. The EU plays a critical role in ensuring that Ukraine's cultural sector is not only preserved, but remains active, visible, and connected. This is not about safeguarding heritage, but about enabling Ukrainian voices to continue shaping narratives about their country, both domestically and internationally. Cultural actors are often among the first to document, interpret, and respond to societal change, and they play a key role in resisting disinformation and strengthening democratic resilience. To structure our work in this area, we at Cultural Vistas have developed an internal framework called Preserve, Document, Heal, Rebuild. Preserve, this refers to protecting cultural heritage and identity while countering narratives that deny Ukraine's legitimacy. Document, supporting responsible documentation of war crimes and lived experiences while ensuring the safety and dignity of those affected. Heal, addressing the psychological and social consequences of war through exchange and with practitioners in trauma support and recovery, both physical and psychological. Rebuild, contributing to forward-looking approaches in reconstruction, including urban development, infrastructure, and quality of life. Through this approach, we aim to support not only recovery, but also long-term resilience and future-oriented development. Applying this framework to all of our programs with Ukraine allows us to ensure a holistic approach in supporting the people of Ukraine and rebuilding the country. So what will Cultural Vistas be doing as part of the Cultural Horizons program? With my program team colleagues, Patricia Palke and Dorina Gulyas, who you see here, our work will entail two central responsibilities: mentorship and residencies. First, we will aid in developing EU-Ukrainian partnerships by building a Europe-wide network of cultural expert mentors. These mentors are cultural professionals from Europe and Ukraine who will support our grantees through targeted peer-to-peer mentorship during the project implementation phases. Anyone with valuable experience and connections in the cultural sector in Europe is encouraged to apply to become a member and support Ukrainian artists and cultural practitioners. Selected mentors will receive a series of trainings focused on effective mentorship, knowledge exchange, and networking that will ultimately aid them in providing impactful mentorship for the next program phase, residencies. Selected Ukrainian artists and cultural practitioners will then be matched to European host organizations where they will undergo residencies that will allow for the creation of cultural products, fostering cultural understanding and artistic exchanges. These projects will be funded through subgrants ranging from 5,000 to 20,000 euros, with a minimum of 20 subgrants being funded. This phase of the program will support capacity building of Ukrainian artists and cultural actors and expand access for Ukrainians affected by the war to high-quality cultural and artistic practices. For more information on our contributions to Cultural Horizons, I've listed our program website on this slide at culturalvistas.eu/our-programs-cultural horizons. Our call for mentors is live as of today, and applications can be submitted through May 3rd. You'll see the link attached to apply to be a mentor. To apply for a residency subgrant, our applications will open in June and go through August. Exact dates will be updated on the program website. That concludes my presentation. I hope you found it informative, and on behalf of Cultural Vistas and Cultural Vistas EU, we are so excited to be a part of this immensely impactful program under the leadership of the Ukrainian Cultural Fund. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll pass it back to my colleagues at UCF. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Paul, from Cultural Vistas, from our consortium partner, for such a wonderful, impactful presentation. And we would like to carry on. We would like to carry on and share that on behalf of our consortium, we are overjoyed to announce that starting today, March 27th, we start looking for mentors for our project Cultural Horizons. We invite everybody who's interested in international cooperation, new experience, collaboration, extending their cultural horizons to join the program. It's going to be interesting. There are so many things planned, so we expect to see you among our mentors. In the future, we would like to share a bit more about what exactly awaits you in our mentorship component. For UCF, this is quite a new approach, a novel approach. It's an important component of our program. And we would like to say that when speaking of mentorship, we mean the principle of peer-to-peer, that is the opportunity for our grantees to garner mentor support, to accelerate and to make sure their execution of the project is more efficient, to perhaps avoid some mistakes, relying on mentors' experience, also to establish a smooth cooperation. And for mentors, of course, there are a couple of levels where you build cooperation. First of all, this is building competencies. Since in the mentorship domain, there are going to be at least 40 participants coming from the EU countries. That is, it's an opportunity for international experience sharing, best practice exchange. But perhaps, well, what else is extremely important is shaping professional connections that will stay with our mentors, that will in the future allow to keep working on these and more projects that will provide for the sustainability, continuality for these projects and for the entire ecosystem. During the panel discussion, we have already heard how important it is to build not only separate projects, but all the entire ecosystem of the culture, and it's true for both Ukraine and EU countries. So owing to the creation of this pool of mentors, what we hope to happen is that there's going to start a process of cohesion and creation of a core that can work for the benefit of this sector. Mentors will help our grantees on the stage of implementation of the project, and this will also create added value on top of the sustainability. In which way are we going to shape the mentors pool? It's the process that comprises a couple of stages. The first stage is the stage that we are kicking off today. It's looking for mentors that would like to undergo an educational training course. Then we will go into the matching stage. That means selection based on our grantee criteria and demand. And then we will get to mentorship, peer-to-peer mentorship during the implementation of the project. So when speaking of the educational training course, our future mentors will be able to share experience with their colleagues. This course will be held online. Some of the participants will also be involved into informational sessions that we will organize for the applicants. That is, the applicant will receive support during all the stages, ranging from receiving information during the informational sessions, then further on the stage of project implementation. We expect to have at least 90 participants, and at least 45 of them will join our mentors pool. One of them, the main requirement is, of course, graduating or completing the educational course successfully. So who are we looking for? Who we would like to see on the team of our mentors? I suppose the most important thing to utter is that we are looking for people who are like-minded, who share our vision and values, because our project, it translates the vision of the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, but also wider priorities, such priorities as supporting transnational cooperation, supporting mobility of artists, digitization, green movement, gender equality, also the development of cultural sector. Everything that I just listed, these are the priorities of the Cultural Creative Europe program, and we are looking for people who share in these values, who are ready to work and help in implementing of these values when our projects are implemented. So who are these people? These are the cultural professionals, the cultural actors, cultural managers, curators, artists, independent experts, the people that have experience of project activities in the field of culture from Europe or from EU countries. These are people that are open to international cooperation, open to exchange, open to perception and welcoming other countries. I would like to remind you of the fact that at least 40% of mentors pool are people that are going to come from various EU countries. I would like to remark here for our listeners that perhaps are joining us online, are watching the presentation, that if you do not live in the EU country, if you don't have a residence there, then we still can share this educational training course. It's going to be available free of charge as a recording. So for you, there will also be an opportunity to join the project, to support the project, and make use of the achievements of this educational course for mentors. And of course, there are a couple of formal qualification requirements. First of all, being freely conversant in English, because it's an international project. The participants will come from various countries, so mentors need to feel confident when making expert conversation in English. And of course, full legal capacity and legal age of being over 18. So this is what I wanted to share today. I will be happy to hand over to my colleague, Ivanna Karpeniuk, who will share some other details. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kateryna. If you allow me, I will be a bit boring today, and I will give you more details about how to apply, what are the stages of selection, what is necessary, and so on. So a couple of words about the educational training course. Everything will take place online, and in terms of how intense it is, yes, please pay attention to the fact that the pace of the course is not going to interfere with your daily life. So you will have a virtual meeting no more than once a week. The syllabus or the curriculum is still being developed by our colleagues from Cultural Vistas. So if you received a registration card when registering, you can find a QR code there, and you will follow it to get to the web page. So the entirety of information about the calls and the project will be published there. So please make sure you follow the news. So what concerns the curriculum of the course, we will have different approaches to mentorship. First of all, about what is the most efficient way to transmit knowledge. We will also look into various aspects of implementing international cultural projects. All in all, why do you become a mentor? What do we offer? First of all, making census. Why? Because in this component of mentorship, we look at it as not only supporting our grantees, and it's not only an opportunity for separate experts for their individual or professional development. We envision this as a added value for strengthening cultural ecosystem. So if this matters to you, if you're looking for census in what you do, then you are like-minded to us. Of course, these are also new challenges, new cases, extending your networks, and of course, a small bonus is getting a certificate. What's the procedure of applying? It's quite simple. Everything that you need is to fill out an application form. You can see the QR code or the link that you can follow to get to the application form. Please, I would like to give you a tip that you will need to prepare a CV because we would kindly like to ask you to upload it right away. And let's take a more detailed look at how this at what this application form looks like. So let's take a look at this. Let's pause here briefly. You can see all the main dates on the top. That is how everything is going to be scheduled. First period, selection period. It's possible that during this selection period, you will be asked in for an interview, and how and when the course takes place, and also the mentoring stage. It is provided by the project that you will not need to spend for each project that you will mentor any more time than 10 hours. Implementation of the projects will take place between January and end of August. That is 8 months, 10 hours. So it's not going to interfere with your active daily life and your other obligations.
Зніміть, будь ласка, відео з паузи.
If you could maybe unpause the video.
Так, тут можна теж також зупинитись
Yes, let's make a pause here, a brief pause. So here some information is presented about our project, about what it is that we expect of mentorship. Let's scroll to the bottom. Let's unpause the video. Here are the criteria for eligibility. My colleague already explained what they are, but what we value most is your motivation to share knowledge, to share your experience and expertise, and also being open. Let's pause here. So the application seems complex, but in reality it isn't. It comprises several parts, motivational part, and first part is the biography. So here are some questions that are shaped in quite a detailed way. And first caveat here is that your personal data will be completely safe here because we are bound by the European standards of data processing. Another important aspect is that it's not just an educational course or simple matching procedure, but it's an attempt to build a community, and we want each participant of the community to feel safe and comfortable, and for this reason we need to be able to identify you. This is why we need your detailed biographical data. All in all, about being a representative of vulnerable groups of population is something that is important for our project because our project aims at cultural cohesion. First of all, your contact information. A small remark needs to be made here. A country of residence. Here what we're looking for is either Ukraine or the EU. Why so? Because our project is meant to to accelerate, if you could use this word, accelerate the integration of our cultural sector into the European cultural space. So it's important to make use of the context where the professional work. It's not so much about their citizenship or nationality. An important part is your professional experience. Please make sure you tell us about yourself as much as you can. And also upload your CV here. What concerns language skills, as my colleague has already mentioned, you need to be fluent in English. We don't expect a certificate, but you need to feel confident when listening to new information and when talking to others, of course. And your motivation, what is it that you expect from the project? What kind of knowledge you can share? What kind of experience you already have? We're especially interested in your experience of international cooperation. So here are some of the fields that you need to fill out. Let's go to the bottom. Of course, some of the questions, they can be altered, whether, for instance, you have had some international experience, we will ask you to answer what kind of experience, but for each field, no more than 300 words can fit. And what is important is motivation. If 300 words is not enough for you to explain why you want to be a part of the project, then you will be able to upload additional documents. And when you are agreeing to participate in our project, you will be able, you need to understand that you will stay with us not only in summer, but also a big part of 2027.
And yes, this is terms and conditions, provisions. I just wanted to ensure you that your data will be safe. Another thing that I would like to mention is that another goal that we pursue is to have some rethinking of all mentorship practices, to provide a summary, and we will also invite the members of our mentoring pool to actually provide some mentorship guidelines, and that is something that could be used when the project is already over. So this will be some material that other people can benefit from. If there are any questions that you have, feel free to address me or Kateryna. There is a feedback form that you can use if you would like to reach out. Hello, I would like to welcome all the guests who are present here, and I send my greetings to our online participants. So today, together with my colleagues, we will dig deeper into a new program, the Cultural Horizons program. The first thing that I would like to mention is that this initiative was developed with a complete understanding of the fact that the Ukrainian cultural space should be integrated into European cultural space. That is exactly why this program on mentorship, on experience exchange, and of course about grants. Yes, let's focus on our cross-cutting priorities. Yes, I would like to mention that within the framework of this call, our plan is to support 85 projects. 20 of these projects are international residencies. And in this case, Ukrainian organizations could become applicants. There will be administration provided by our partners on the territory of the European Union. We can be the beneficiaries of this process, and 40 individual grants for mobility programs. Prior to us discussing in detail different funding tracks, as my colleague has pinpointed, it's important for us to identify our priorities that we have already heard about. First of all, this is digitalization, integration of modern technologies. Then the second one is responsible attitude when it comes to the environment, inclusion, and gender equality. So this is equality for different categories. All those calls are aligned with the general framework of the EU. That is something that we cannot cover by our own resources. That is why it's really important to make sure that you're aligned with one of cross-cutting priorities. Otherwise, this project will not be supported. So what comes next? So the first call is innovative cultural product. This year, we already had a similar idea to support brave decisions, digitalization, as well as integration of innovative technologies, the use of augmented reality, virtual reality, and other technologies available to us. One of the preconditions is international partnership. So that means that for this call, it's possible to participate only when you are in partnership with a member of the EU state. Then in terms of requirements, it could be a legal entity or individual entrepreneur registered in the territory of Ukraine for at least 1 year when the call is announced. Then what comes next? This is funding for each call and timelines. We will discuss it bit later. So the next one is European local culture. This is the next call that we have. The objective is to support local projects. The projects of rethinking of regional cultural heritage, broadening the capacity of communities, also supporting small towns, communities, and ethnic minorities. Applicants, these could be Ukrainian legal entities or FOPs, local authorities. However, these will be only those organizations which represent small towns and small communities. So the representatives of regional centers and K are excluded from the call and they cannot apply. The major product to be expected within the framework of this call, these are VR excursions, cultural routes, mobile libraries, cinemas, residencies, etc. Partnership with EU organizations is not mandatory. However, we encourage to also partner with colleagues from the EU. That is why if you have such international partnership, that is going to be a bonus for you and what will give you some advantage, I would say. Also, I would like to stress that we all remember in what kind of conditions we are living at the times of martial law. That is why all events, all the measures that you envision as part of the project implementation, they have to be agreed upon with respective bodies, and security measures are also of critical importance during planning of these events. The next call is debuts to support young artists, their first professional projects in the field of culture. These are educational institutions in the realm of culture. So we encourage to support young cultural actors. So what are our expectations for this call? The key product for this call is a first professional step in this area. It could be an art object created, it could be video content, theater production. The requirements, these could be Ukrainian legal entities or FOP registered in the territory of Ukraine at least 3 months prior to the announcement of this call. And there is one strict requirement. The cultural product presented after the completion of the project has to be presented for the first time. So it means that it cannot be publicly presented before. The first one, this is mobility. This is a classical scholarship program for investment into your development and growth. We support cultural and artistic projects, and here you can receive a stipend for a study tour, for internship, for research. This mobility can take place both in Ukraine and beyond Ukraine, because the foundation usually needs to have some confirmation that the project was delivered. So that could be a certificate, a diploma. These could be some notebooks about your involvement in the process. It's logbooks, strategies for applying knowledge in Ukraine. So who is eligible? Individuals, Ukrainian citizens of 15 years and above. So everyone can apply. Of course, there are certain risks that should be factored in, because there are certain restrictions due to the war, especially if to talk about men. That is why it's really important that you receive all the necessary documents, permission to leave the country. Also, if you need a visa, please be aware of timing, because if you sign an agreement with the foundation, you receive funding, but then it happens that you cannot leave the country. It means that you need to give all the funding back to the foundation. That is why please be mindful of these risks and plan accordingly. I also would like to build on that. As far as the stipends are concerned, we try to envision different possible options. That is why participation in different events is possible in an online format. In terms of funds for all our calls, and also some preliminary timelines for application of your packages. So innovative cultural product call. The total budget for this call is 400,000 euros. Then the amount for a grantee to implement their project ranges from 10 to 20,000 euros. The application start is the 1st of June of 2026 till the 14th of August 2026. This is preliminary information. And also, I would like to mention that within this program, we can have different timelines. We will have information and consultation campaign for you to be able to find a partner and to shape the concept of this project. You have some extra time. The very duration of the project is longer than it usually is when it comes to other projects supported by the foundation. So the duration is approximately 7 months. Our expectation is to support about 20 projects. The second call, the European local cultural, the total budget is 200,000 euros. The amount for each participant, of course, is lower, 3 to 8,000 euros. The applications start June, September. The duration of the project delivery is 8 months. The expected number of projects supported is 20. Debuts, the funding is 350,000 euros. The amount per grantee from 5 to 14,000 euros. The application start and deadline are August, October of 2026. 7 months to implement the project. The plan is to support 25 projects. And last but not least is our mobility call, 220,000 euros. This is a total budget for this call. The amount is 2,500, 5,500 euros per each grantee. Application start October, application deadline. December, the duration of the project is 6 months. The expected number of projects supported is 40 projects. As far as staging is concerned, because we have different stages of application and selection, those of you who already participated in our projects of the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, you already know how it works. So first, you need to have your application submitted online via a website. So you also need to upload all the documentation which is required. When you're done with this step, what comes next is the technical compliance check. So everything is going to be checked to make sure if there is a compliance ensured. If yes, then the next step is step 3, expert evaluation by our independent expert councils of our foundation. They will be responsible for a comprehensive assessment and evaluation, the plan, the budgeting estimate. Then we will have a rating register as based on scores given by expert councils. And if you manage to achieve the necessary amount of these scores, the next phase for you is the negotiation phase. At this stage, there could be some adjustments, some specification of your working plan needed, of your application. If a potential grantee and the foundation agree on all these matters, there will be a procedure of grant agreement signing, and what comes next is project implementation and final reporting to the foundation. Supporting activities for potential applicants and grantees. For applicants, this is pre-submission support, informational sessions, which consist of 2 parts. This is project conceptualization as well as matchmaking. We will also provide informational sessions to discuss technical aspects, to submit the packages for grantees. We will also have post-award support at the stage of implementation of the project, as well as mentorship. To conclude, I would like to say that support from the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation will be there. However, do not forget about the rules that you need to abide by. We will publish them when we will start the process of receiving of all application packages. So there are all terms and conditions prescribed there. You will find all of this information. This will be a key to success, to make sure that your project is supported financially. Thank you. Thank you for attention.
Так, обіцяв вам партнерські програми, тому далі ще терпіння.
So I
буде попереду багато цікавого.
promised partner programs to you, and this is what awaits us. I would like to hand over to Diana Ihnatenko on behalf of Isolation Foundation. You have your own mic.
Тут усі гаджети є.
Yes, all the gadgets are available. Thank you. Hello, everybody. On behalf of IZOLYATSIA team, thank you to our partners that invited us. And it's true that on Ukraine's cultural horizons, we are seeing other programs, and one of them is ZMINA Resilience. And our program targets cultural integration of cultural creative sector from Ukraine into cultural sector of the EU. And as it has been mentioned, today, all of this is done for the sake of and with the aim of making Ukraine closer, bringing Ukraine into closer proximity to the EU. And this is the direction that we're working in, and how we aim at reaching this goal, of course, through grant financing and also building capacity, and I will explain later. So we have already implemented Creative Europe projects, and we have this experience. It's grounded in, first of all, in the previous program. It was called ZMINA Rebuilding, and some people are still mix this up a little bit, because just recently people asked me, how can you apply for ZMINA Rebuilding? No, you can't anymore, but you can apply for ZMINA Resilience. So this project, it had to do, and if you speak in the language of figures that we love so much, but we try to bring these figures closer to culture, often hearing that figures and culture are two separate things. So we managed to involve over 29,000 participants, and they in their turn managed to implement 48 different projects in 20 countries of the world. And in this way, we were able to provide support, making 1.4 million euro. So it's quite a striking figure. And all of these projects attracted over 580 stakeholders. So we also managed to involve 668 mentors, special experts, who were working towards helping on the local level and helping partnerships in general. So we also had this component of involving experts. It's quite a typical format when you involve international experts, not just international, but also independent experts, both from Ukraine and from abroad. So in geographic terms, you can take a look at this gigantic map. So this is the geography of towns and cities and countries. This is where the overlaps were made and where joint projects were created. Once again, this is within ZMINA Rebuilding. And what we would like to draw your attention to is that here we have both large cities and small towns, very small regions, and we are extremely proud of this, and we want to extend our geography and try not to make clutter just in big cities. Of course, ZMINA Resilience is not something that we do single-handedly. We do it with our partners. We have our partner Malé Berlin. This is an independent cultural center in Trnava in Slovakia. And this partner of ours, they are working actively in the field of international cooperation in Central Europe and more extensively in the Eastern Partnership countries. Another partner is a Trans-European Association called Trans-European Halles, and they bring together over 140 organizations across 40 countries that extend their horizons, and really like this name of Horizons. And this is when we see what is coming next, what's coming in the future. And once again, this project is co-funded by Creative Europe, European Union. Our project is also co-founded by New Democracy Fund and Danish Cultural Institute. We are extremely grateful to them because they are also helping us make sure that this support is more vast and more comprehensive. Let's get to aims, what this all is meant to do. First of all, to strengthen the capacity of Ukrainian organizations in the international cooperation field. And of course, this is a red line through our activities to make sure that this cooperation is not formal, is not decorative, is not just something on paper, not a formal requirement so that you could fulfill it and you can apply, but make sure that this is tangible cooperation that works for both sides. And we are certain that both Ukrainian organizations can help international organizations and vice versa. And of course, developing partnership as such. So it's meant for cooperation systemically. So if you put it in figurative terms, we want the partnerships to be sustainable, equal, and durable, so that our Ukrainian organizations build their work not from project to project, but on a larger scale, and that they can dream big. And of course, all of our projects are meant to create new cultural and creative products, of course, apparently, and of course, enhancing Ukraine's visibility through all of our projects. We mean to consolidate, to enhance our visibility, to extend the cultural context through the projects that are implemented within the frame of ZMINA resilience. There are a couple of different directions within our project. First of all, this is the support of international cooperation. This is getting from the departure point into the future. And good news is that this has already been kicked off. We have already opened the first call, and if there's somebody in this room who hasn't heard of it, we very much welcome you. It has already commenced, and the main aim is creation and presenting the project of international cooperation. And for this, you need to have an Ukrainian organization and organization from at least one of the countries of Creative Europe. The projects need to be presented on the local level. These presentations need to take place in Europe and in a community where the partner comes from. So through this, we want to involve and activate the local audience. The maximum grant is 25,000 euro. And what you could do is you could cover up to 90% of all the costs of the project. And what really matters here is that we keep the balance and keep the equality in the partnership. I have already emphasized this, but I would like to emphasize this again about the partnership, that this is about the opportunities to find partners, because quite often we get these questions. Is it necessary? Is it obligatory to have a partner already? Yes, we can help that through our sessions, through our matchmaking sessions, but I will talk about this a bit later. So the first call that, as I mentioned, it has already been opened, and we will keep accepting application until May 10th. So you still have a while to get ready, to read through all the requirements, to perhaps join our consultations that I had weekly, to ask your clarification questions, to find partners as well. And the implementation implementation stage is going to take quite a while, ranging from July this year until January 2027. So then the second call will be announced in October this year. And so this means that we have a couple of calls this year. Then next case of grant support is showcasing grants. That is the approach to disseminating cultural and creative products. Its focus is to reach audiences as much as possible, to extend our projects of international cooperation, and it's meant to build visibility, recognizability of the projects that are had between Ukrainian institutions and EU Creative Europe countries on national and international level. So it's also very important to mention that we try to circle back to the context of the countries where the organizations come from. Of course, we understand the Ukrainian context, but I think that for Ukrainian organizations, we do not limit the presentations to specific format. It could be the hybrid format, online, offline, whatever the opportunities or possibilities are. And the only thing is that we need to have at least 3 public presentations, at least in 2 different countries. So these are the formal limitations that are in place. And this project, this direction will be open for 16 months. So it's a durable project, and each quarter we will present a winner so that you will have more time to keep working on your project if it's necessary. And here you can get up to 50,000 euro to make your ideas, your presentations happen. And as in the previous case, this financing allows you to cover up to 90% of project costs. So the first call is scheduled for June 2026. But as I mentioned, basically it's just the beginning. And this entire call will last for 16 months, and it will only close in September 2027, so there's plenty of time to get ready and to apply. But, as I mentioned, this is only main information. More information is available on our website, on the website of the program, and you will also get access to our QR codes, our favorite, so you will be able to subscribe. And I also mentioned that apart from funding, a large part of our attention is given to capacity building, and that is capacity building of Ukrainian organizations about how for them to be able to get to the international arena, about building partnerships with their peers in the Creative Europe countries. So what we refer to here is that we are very solid in this effort, and for this we have offered 2 online workshops that will cover 5 different topics. So a very important topic is actually coming next, a topic for Creative Europe and for our organization specifically, because here we're talking about basic topics of inclusion, accessibility, safety and security, and working with trauma. Then next is green culture. Our colleagues already mentioned this. We also share in this value, and we value the systemic work with environmental topics so that we can right away build our projects in a way that they conform with the requirement of our calls or other calls, so that they are elaborated from the viewpoint of environmental awareness. Next topic is the method of involvement. And when we mention this, we think of participation, maximum participation of various audiences, about ethics of using AI, and community storytelling. So it's my favorite thing about how to share stories, success stories, and how to see these stories in communities, not through numbers only, but also through impact.
You know that I'm engagement manager in our project, and this is my favorite topic, communication. Communication is about broad understanding of our audience, about its identification. It's about our understanding of local context as well as engagement of local communities. And last but not least is cultural project management. Here, what is critical to focus on project management aspects in culture. This is goal setting, it is about balance, partnerships, and monitoring and evaluation. So the upcoming event that is planned for April the 1st will be dedicated to the topic of fundraising and donor relations. If this subject matter is of interest to you, you are invited to attend our online event. It will be in English, but we hope that this is not going to be an obstacle for you to participate, and we will make more announcements about other events to come. Matchmaking, it has already been mentioned. So matchmaking support aims at search for partners. They will be moderated. These are going to be a series of moderated online sessions where we'll have the presentation of those projects which already applied and actually to find international partners. And then we will have some smaller discussions in a safe space to find some common ground, also to join those projects which are of interest to different organizations. So March the 31st is the first matchmaking session, which has already been planned. You are encouraged to join if you already have some partners, or if you want to meet more organizations, Ukrainian organizations, international organizations, feel free to join. And QR codes. Yes, this is what we definitely love. Thank you for scanning these QR codes. So the first QR code is Resilience, ZMINA Resilience newsletter. We are not going to send you spam emails. We will send you only important, relevant information. It will be very brief, very to the point, very interesting. That is why please subscribe to us. And as I have already announced, we have a separate platform, ZMINA.eu platform, where you can learn more about the accomplishments of ZMINA rebuilding. Now on to ZMINA resilience. You will find all the detailed information about the opportunities, about the requirements. You also have access to templates. All of that could be found on our website. That's everything I wanted to share with you. If you have any questions, of course, I'm ready to take them, but we have our weekly consultations at 11 on Tuesdays. By the 10th of May, we will have these meetings, many of them, and we will be happy to see you at these calls. Thank you. Yes, so you have all the data if you scan the QR code. So I think that everyone will really love to have a consultation with your NGO. Yes, okay, so let's keep going because there is another presentation, the presentation from Insha Osvita NGO, and this is the presentation of Cultural Help Solidarity Program. I would like to invite a program director, Bozhena Pelenska, to tell us more about this project. Insha Osvita NGO. Hello, everyone. I hope that you are still awake, and if you feel drowsy, I will try to make sure that you are more alert. Actually, there are some similarities between these programs, and I would like to focus on what makes our program different from other programs. Also, I would like to tell you more about the form, the structure, what are the processes that we have, and what are the opportunities that we've got to offer. We know that the name of this project is Culture Health Solidarity, is one of the 4 consortia to receive funding from the European Commission. The project started last autumn, and it will last until March of 2028. The partners of this project are the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, Insha Osvita NGO that I'm representing here, ZUSA, this is an organization from Berlin, and the veteran movement. Cultural Health Solidarity aims at one of the biggest problems, at least in our mind. These are separated communities, and we believe that culture can actually help us. Of course, there are some limitations. And more details about this project. First of all, it aims at professionals who work in culture and arts, those who work in Ukraine and beyond Ukraine. It is aimed at veterans, male and female soldiers, those who are in Ukraine, those who are relocated. We have 3 major formats of support. Some of them are repeated, some of them are changed. So we have an individual grant program. I will give you more details about all of them. The second format are project grants, and the third, these are the grants of international cooperation. The individual grant system, we have 14 rounds. This is the second round now until the 8th of April. By the end of 2027, we will regularly publish information about these rounds. The second format has 4 rounds. We also have a call open by the 16th of April. There will be 3 more rounds announced, and the grants of international assistance have 2 rounds. And by the 21st of March, we had the first round, so individual grants. They are aimed at support of mental health of professionals in culture and arts. We are all living in tough time. We are acutely aware of that. All of us who work with culture or arts in Ukraine or abroad are eligible for this grant program. I would like to underline that there are some requirements how you can spend this funding. That could be psychotherapy, recovery trips, visiting some places in Ukraine or abroad of recreation, arts therapy classes. It could be some other activities, some subscriptions to these activities. You can get more details in detailed description to this grant. Also, what is important is that these grants do not cover medical treatment, and they do not cover medication. I will briefly outline the selection criteria. I've already mentioned that this grant is aimed at you, those people who work in arts and culture to support your mental well-being. Also, for those people who work with internally displaced persons, refugees, veterans. Also, it's really important to provide justification for the expenses that you plan to have. Another block is project grants. Together with partners, we identified 4 thematic blocks. Now we have a thematic round, which is called Divided United Communities, how culture can help to address this matter. And there will be 3 more rounds. They will have the following topics: commemoration and artistic documenting, safe public spaces, as well as the topic of how the war impacts our environment and the practices of regeneration. The current round dedicated to the topic of divided communities. It's important for us to receive applications from organizations which work either in Ukraine or abroad, committed to the idea of having unity in communities. These could be internally displaced persons, people who moved abroad, reintegration, integration of veterans. What is really important here? These could not be only social projects, because what matters to us is that you use this tool, that you use cultural and artistic tools, because this project is being implemented in the realm of culture. That is why when you apply to different projects and you have psychotherapy, some other therapies, it's really important to have artistic and cultural tools integrated into the general approach. What are the key criteria? The cultural component that I have already stressed on, the experience of the organization applying, of working with the target audience, understanding of the community that you plan to engage your activities or you have already been engaging with them, the use of approaches and methodologies to be utilized. And of course, sustainability, because we know that for all the projects, it's important to make sure that there is some sustainability of this project. It is also important to us. There are some examples that one can provide here. So that could be the development of a route with engagement of internally displaced persons. That could also be the creation of different works with professional and amateur artists or cultural actors. These could be some performances that you have as professional and non-professional actors. That could also be different archive projects when you engage artists. And of course, this is not an exhaustive list. I just felt like providing different examples to you. International cooperation grants is the next format. What is important about this format? Of course, that this could be the same target audience: veterans, refugees who fled the country, internally displaced persons, newly created communities. As far as international cooperation grants are concerned, it is pivotal for us to have cooperation of Ukrainian and international partners. And in this partnership, it's important to have at least one Ukrainian organization and at least one international organization. Because with other project grants, there is only one organization which can apply, but here the focus is on cooperation, on how we can engage the above-mentioned communities and tools that I have elaborated on to have support, to create or to resume their connections. The participation criteria, it's important that when we speak about those people who relocated, who lost their belongings and everything, and they want to go back through culture, through arts, they will get access and experience through culture and arts. Authenticity is important to us, the spirit of experiment, because we understand that sometimes when we do not have well-established approaches or methodologies for this type of work, we really try to think of something from scratch. However, it's important that there is some feasibility, that this cooperation could also become sustainable as part of this project, and also long-term cooperation and impact. What about the partnership? I have already described it, that it takes at least 2 organizations to apply. Then the organization is 20,000 euro. If it is 3 and more, it could be the amount of 30,000 euro. This is the funding for this application. At least one organization has to be legally registered in Ukraine, and one has to be registered in the EU. At least one of partners should work with the integration of refugees, internally displaced persons, as well as veterans. Here, one may find some examples, and of course, these are just some examples for you to get a better understanding. So workshops, for instance, these could be workshops with engagement of IDPs, digital archives creation, and then these digital archives, they became an artistic product, and there was a public presentation of this outcome. This could be documented participatory play, and once again, this could be professional actors or amateur actors, with engagement of veterans, for example, or these could be different workshops on documenting practices about lived-in experience, and you know that we have thousands of stories like that. There are more examples to your attention. The next element, in all of today's presentation, we heard about international cooperation, about partnerships. Our colleagues who spoke before me, they give you some opportunities to find partners. For some, it's a limitation and they do not have this proposal. You do not have the links here, but on our website, if you scan a QR code in our collaboration projects, you can find a platform. You can register on this platform individually or at the level of your organization, and you can match with international partners. The partners for our project, if you would like to apply, or for any other projects which are of interest. That is why please take a look at this platform, get registered, and that would be a great chance for you to find a partner. These are QR codes. To your right, there is a QR code which leads you to a newly created website. Culture helps solidarity, and there is another one where you can follow what's new with us. Thank you for your attention. If there are any questions, I am happy to take your questions. Thank you. Participants, did you have any questions? Yes. Do we have any questions? It seems to me that we do not have any questions. As far as I can see, there are no questions, right? If you go to Culture Help Solidarity website, there is a specific section, collaboration grants. You need to scroll down and you will find a link. And also if you go to Insha Osvita NGO, you will find a link to the platform.
Будь ласка. Давайте
Go ahead.
А, у вас є.
Дякую.
You have the mic, yes.
Підкажіть, будь ласка, чи є інформація
So,
зараз
is
якась
there
про
any
напрямок
information
розвитку простору
available
безпеки?
now
Те, що
on the
показували
direction of
трьох.
cultural
Зараз ви
safe
кажете, що
spaces? One of the three that you mentioned. As of now, we have a concept, the way we see it, but after we announce the next round of thematic grants, because we are now wrapping up the first one, the thematic project round, when we announce it, we're going to host a webinar. The webinar will be dedicated to detailing of what we mean. We will provide you with details, examples of what we want to see, what we mean by this specific wording. But very briefly, I could say that what we are after here is the creation of projects that can involve target audiences through cultural and artistic projects.
Дякую вам.
Thank you.
Дякую дуже.
Thank you so much.
Да? Спасибі.
No more questions? Wonderful,
Спасибі
thank you
вам. Ну,
then.
а ми
Thank you
рухаємося
so
далі.
much.
Зараз
And we are,
я хочу запросити сюди на сцену Мілену Чорну.
we would like to welcome Milena Chorna, the Association of Ukrainian Museums, the presentation of the project European Culture Exchange and the European Union. The floor goes to you, and as always, at the end, we will have a short Q&A session. Thank you so much. I'm happy to see everybody. I'm sorry I will have to be speaking sitting down for specific reasons. First of all, I would like to start by congratulating Ukrainian Cultural Fund. I'm aware, I'm well-versed about working in different departments of the UCF, and now I'm an applicant, and I can imagine, and it's even difficult to put it into words, what's the amount of work behind one project, one endeavor, how much work is behind every signed memorandum, and so on. So I would like to my hat goes off to you. I'm so grateful for you, and I hope that in a year we will celebrate your 10th anniversary in even a wider circle and with even many more projects. And thank you for the institutional sustainability, because it's something very valuable in our life. And concerning our project, I'm very grateful to our coordinator of the project. This is Illia, European League of Institutes of the Arts. It has around 280 members from 51 countries. 15 are Ukrainian. It's so important. I know that they are watching us, so greetings from Kyiv. And if you allow me, I will present the official presentations with some of the personal reflection, because for museum community, for restoration community that I represent, the head of the association, this is a very personal project. We've been waiting for what we see here as results. We have been waiting for this for such a long time, and for us it's a historic moment. And if we implement what we have planned, it's going to be a historic achievement. So the mission of our project is to strengthen horizontal connections with European cultural discourse, with European cultural communities. Horizontal connections within the country are already in place. Fortunately or unfortunately, owing to the war, owing to the large-scale invasion, we are well cooperated. Our horizontal connections work well, but now we're approaching the European level, and it's so important for us. I think there are stereotypes about the community of museum worker being as a masonry league or masonry order. I think that this stereotype is gone. We have changed so much. We're looking for European partners, and we're grateful to the consortium for being a part of this very important to us project, because this opens up new horizons for us. It's the word that has been used so much today, but it's very appropriate. I'm not going to list all the problems, but it's so important to say that first we have analyzed, and not just us, but we have analyzed the project of the European Union and the strategy of the development of culture till 2030 also analyzes all of the needs and issues. But we are aware of the problems, but we need to utter them, and this will help us find a solution. So here's the list of the problems, but the main one is human resource, and it actually relates to all the points. We have extreme shortage of human resource, and why this project is also so important and so historic. I've been looking for the right word to characterize this project, why it's so seminal, because inside the community we've been discussing this. It would have taken us 2 more years with this project, but in reality the situation is a disaster. In the field of museum business and restoration, the situation is a disaster. We are short of hands, and this is now. Imagine what happens if we start the restoration after the victory. We need to start already now. 1,700 landmarks are destroyed or damaged, museums and so on, and the war is not even over yet. So we are short of hands. There are men, so many men among the restoration specialists. Many have gone to wage the war. Many will not come back. So right now we need to shape the new generation of museum employees and restoration specialists, because right now this is the average age of the museum worker, 40 or above 40, and mainly leaders are senior age citizens, and these are people that are the vassals of such an important information, because especially at the temporarily occupied territories, because land is gone, information is gone, and they are the only carriers of this cultural identity. If this generation is gone and there's no somebody to take over, why Russians are looking for museum workers? Because these are the community leaders. Even right now in Luhansk district museum, they have the community of the internally displaced persons. The museum workers know the family histories in Starobylsk, in Lysychansk. It's a stereotype that there have been Russians there only. No, these people go back centuries knowing their own family lines, still 16th, 17th century, and we need to shape the new generation of such professionals. You understand it really well that the cultural heritage is one of the main targets of Russians. If they destroyed artifacts, if they destroyed tangible cultural heritage, it will be so difficult to hand over our history only in words, because intangible heritage without the tangible heritage will not make it. So our consortium, as I mentioned, Illia, European League of Institutes of the Arts, based in the Netherlands. It's a network of almost 300 institutions. Lviv National Academy of Arts, the Coalition of Culture Actors, Association of the Ukrainian Museums, and I would like to specifically say that our associated partner is the State Agency of Ukraine for Arts and Artistic Education. Why I want to emphasize that? Because associated partner means that these partners have no access to grant money. They work pro bono. And the mission of the State Agency of Ukraine for Arts and Artistic Education with this project is extremely complex, because what they need to do is from artistic and museum and restoration and museum language translated into official state language. And this is what we can't do. So we are so grateful for this. So our first objective is to build capacity on horizontal level. Main needs, to understand the main needs, to enhance international cooperation. I'm not going to read it aloud. Let's take a look at activities. So first is the mentorship program for students, for young professionals, meant for 90 Ukrainian students, for master students, or cultural arts students that will be involved in this mentorship program, where we have 40 or more than 40 European experts. And I'm overjoyed that I can share this, that even though we have only recently kicked off, we have already an entire string of volunteers coming from European experts and European institutions who are ready to work pro bono, which is not quite typical of them, to work within our project. So if you follow our news, you will learn more about the details, about the requirements, and so on. And 30 of Ukrainian professionals who will be sent to 30 European institutions. So this is about training and experience. Why this is important? Already now we have a suggestion or an offer from a wonderful Danish museum, and I'm not going to even describe how expert they are, but they are working together with their university, and their campus has the museum, the university, and the restoration premises all working together. So if our students go there, and they will undergo online mentorship and also 2 to 3 weeks staying on site within the context. Why it's so important? Let's refer to things the way they really are. Our museum and restoration field, because of certain circumstances for many dozens of years, we are behind so much. Our people are extremely creative. They achieve a lot with the resources at hand, but they are not even familiar with other resources that already exist. They're not aware of all the new technology, because you need to go there to see it, to be embedded in the context. So please make sure you follow the news, because this is also going to be open call basis. And also trauma-informed practices. As I said, we have a very vast approach. This is not working with trauma. It's about creating safe environment in the education, in museums, so that vulnerable groups of population feel safe. We're all traumatized. Let's put it out in the open. But first of all, there are people who suffered most. These are veterans. These are IDPs. They require. I don't like this concept of reintegration, especially when used about veterans, because this is not their job. They have done what they needed to do. It's our job to create a comfortable environment for them, conducive to their professional development, so that they carry on with their education. How many restoration experts get mobilized, then they come back in 4 to 5 years, and all this experience is gone. It's difficult to make up for it. I would also like to mention Lviv National Academy of Arts that already has the restoration school that teaches 16 students right now, veterans among them, that are using Ukrainian and German methodology to master restoration techniques. And I would also like to mention here that the way we see restoration is that these are the people that know how to work with architecture, landmarks, icons, but in reality, there's an entire layer of restoration tasks that do not require such profound qualifications. For instance, in Europe, you have restoration experts for furniture, for wood, and it does not require 6 years of studies. For instance, in Poland, there's a state program that, for instance, unemployed can apply for. You come to the bureau and you are offered the spot to undergo the training. So basically, it's an artisan training. And we need to drop the negative connotations of the word artisan. This is the Soviet narrative to diminish the significance of these people. These people, in reality, have always been important in the Ukrainian culture, in the Ukrainian communities. For instance, blacksmiths, they were so important in Ukrainian villages. So let's also try and develop, we want to develop these directions. So over 200 people will be able to undergo such certification programs that are right now being tested, for instance, Lviv National Academy of Arts, and we expect to see first positive results of the program in May. So 40 museum specialists and restoration experts will get trained, and the cherry on top is that there are going to be 2 professional standards approved for museum manager and restoration expert. Why it's so important? Let me start with why it's so important, because I see I'm running out of time. So why it's so important? Well, I think we are boarding the last train, because a year or two we will not be able more, and we will not be able to get out of this raven. So professional standards are so important because they define the curriculum of educational institutions. For instance, Transcarpathian Academy has also announced a program for restoration of artistic pieces. So basically all teach it the way they see it. But now basic skills will be outlined and defined. And us as stakeholders, as museum workers and restoration experts, this is what we want to see in private museums. This is what we want to see in a graduate, the basic knowledge that they need to have. And basic skills need to be in place. Unfortunately, now students graduating cultural arts, for instance, they are familiar with Descartes, they have read Schiller in the original, but it's not going to help them in doing their museum work, so they lack basic skills. So these 2 museum standards, so once again, thank you so much for helping us put it into the state language. So these 2 standards will define the foundation for these domains, museum worker and restoration expert. So how it's going to be arranged if you want to participate? So first of all, there's a task force with experts and so on. It's going to be shaped into an open call as well. I hope there many experts will join us, especially those that have valuable knowledge, that have years of expertise and experience, and that can be with us because of their age and because of circumstances. I'm sorry I put it out in the open like this. So the task force will elaborate a draft of these basic skills, and then this will be forwarded to focus groups. Focus groups will involve international experts that will help us see what we have perhaps omitted or overlooked. Maybe something needs to be added, how to get it to the level of the European framework, because this is where we have headed. So we need this to be on par with European standards. So focus groups will have their comments in place, then we will have public hearings, and then a final stage of the project. So we hope the outcome to be 2 professional standards. Of course, it's just the beginning, but many people will be trained, at least 200 professionals only within one activity, who will later share the knowledge, disseminate the knowledge, and then we will keep moving forward. I hope we will make it. If there are some questions, I will be happy to take them. So Milena Chorna from the Association of Ukrainian Museums, are there any questions? I have not heard such hopeful words for a long while. You said 2 years more and it would have been a disaster.
Керівника бюро програми ЄС «Креативна Європа» в Україні Миколу Ульянова. Пане Миколо, будь ласка, якщо можна. Мікрофон там маєте, да?
We give the floor to Creative Europe Bureau. I have a short presentation, a 40-minute presentation. No, I'm just joking. This is the only slide that I have, but it's very informative. And yes, so you all know about these grant opportunities. It's important to promote these opportunities. And there are some things that I would like to express, which also could be of interest to you. Subgranting, because I belong to this group of people and also to those who implement projects representing the EU agency. So I'm one of those who are advocating the mechanism of sub-granting, also if it is about 2027 and beyond that. We know that there is a lot of support of the EU when it comes to creativity. We understand that the mechanism of sub-granting makes it possible actually to have adjustments to the needs of a country or to a specific sector in question. That is why we know that there are different forms of support of Ukraine, some special calls, culture horizons, ZMINA resilience, and cultural health solidarity projects that were presented at this platform. I'm hopeful that they will become this case, which will help to convince those people who write other programs in the necessity of optimization of this format of support. And yes, on the one hand, there is some administrative part of costs that we bear. I mean, those who implement these projects, consortia in this case, because they are the implementing bodies for the sub-granting schemes. And this is not a secret, it is public information actually, that in those projects where we have cascading grant approach, such as cultural horizons for sub-granting, we will have at least 70% of the cost estimate. Well, this is the condition, 70% for this program, and I'm just advocating for sub-granting. And it might seem that this is quite a good amount, but it's only about those who do not really understand how difficult it is to work with these programs. That is why all those consortia which enlisted sub-granting support, they have extremely capable organizations, they have extensive experience to implement programs of grant supports, to organize different calls. That is why 30% is not a big amount of money, because there are very many operational and administrative workflows engaged. That is why these 3 projects which were presented will become a great tool for advocacy for such tools of support. And last but not least, I also would like to share my reflections about one of the projects which are special in the context of this event. We are marking the anniversary of the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, and of course here I mean the Cultural Horizons program for the UCF, and we heard it in different formats. It could also become an extremely important experience, and there is quite a high probability that the capacity of the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation in mid-term sense, this is 5 7 years, their ability to engage not only public funding, but other sources of funding could be really something that is really important for this organization. It's not only about grant support, it is about institutional support, not only from the state budget, of course, but engagement of different funding forms for grant programs, because I don't think that there will be very many changes in the way the activities of the UCF are organized, because it's really important to follow the law. But there is some information, and I will keep it secret actually, but the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, together with partners, they received this award. I remember where I was and have I received the phone call, and I learned about that. And of course, I already knew this information because the idea was to support 3 projects, and for 2 of them we had a sub-granting mechanism, and I already had this information that 2 projects for sub-granting already received this opportunity, and there was the 3rd one, of course, from 5 million it increased to 7 million because of a new project. So we have 4 different calls. It is very important what we receive. This support from the EU is a great opportunity for everyone to have support of artists, to have other actors of culture and arts, and this is support which was specifically created and tailored to their needs. Yeah, so my 40 minutes are over. Thank you for attention.